So today I want to talk to you about what the best test for adrenals are. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen, and I help people that suffer with an exhaustion problem reclaim their energy and reclaim their life. What I want to do is I want to talk to you about the different ways that people will test for their adrenals to determine what's going on. And first and foremost, what I want to say is whether you believe in the term called adrenal fatigue or not, the most important thing is that you need to understand what's going on with your hormone system, what's going on with your HPA axis. Are you getting proper feedback? Are you getting proper output? Are you getting proper conversion? Are you getting good metabolite formation? Are you breaking things down? You need to assess the whole clinical picture and the whole biochemistry story that's going on. And that's why we do the test, not to necessarily confirm or deny that there's something called adrenal fatigue. But what I want to do is I want to discuss the different tests that you can do because they are very, very helpful. Number one is blood test. So blood tests, always remember that when you do a blood test and you're checking for hormones, you're going to get the bound portion of the hormone, meaning it's the part that's inactive. It's the part that's bound to a protein. For the hormone to be active, it's got to be free. It's no longer got to be bound, and that's really hard to tell with a blood test. However, a blood test can tell you how much are you actually producing, which can be very, very helpful. And for that reason, I like a blood test. I also like a blood test because there's a lot of different forms, or what we call the metabolites of the hormone, that you can test that you can't necessarily test with a hair or a saliva sample, which is really great for blood. So you can test pituitary hormones and you can test other types of hormone metabolites in a blood test. Not a lot of doctors will order it, but if you're going to do a blood test, that's a really good way about going about it. However, there are some limitations. With a blood test, you're not going to look at the free fraction of the hormone, which we just talked about is the part that's not bound to a protein, and it's the part that's available. Also, you're not going to see the circadian rhythm. Our hormones run on a circadian rhythm. It should be nice and high in the morning if we're talking about cortisol, and low at night. And if you take your test at whatever time you take it, you're not really considering the different times of the day that the hormone will be up or down, and you're not going to get good information. But I do like a blood test. The next one is a saliva test. The saliva test measures that free fraction of the hormone. What I'd like to say though, however, is it's only 1 to 3%, some people say 5% of the total hormone. So if you have a low free fraction and you make a conclusion, oh, your saliva test is low, Mrs. Jones, your cortisol is low, so you must have low cortisol, you can make a huge mistake. Or if your free fraction is high and you say, hey, Mrs. Jones, your free fraction is high, you must have high cortisol total, and you're making conclusions from 1 to 3% on the 97 to 100% that you're not measuring, you can make huge mistakes. And for that reason, I no longer do the saliva test. Besides which, when we have an exhaustion problem or we have a stress-based problem, your adrenals are not going to necessarily completely wipe out, but what is going to happen is that you need to look at the things that are impacting the adrenals, and you're not going to find that with a saliva test. You're not going to understand, is there an infection? Is there a heavy metal? Is there a toxic burden? Is there psychosocial stuff? You're just getting the affect of how it's affecting the adrenals, which you can get some information. But if you're expecting to make conclusions on, hey, Mrs. Jones, your free fraction, which only represents 1 to 3% of your total hormone, is low, and we're going to give you things to raise it. Number one, we're not sure that it's actually low because we didn't see the whole picture. Number two, we're not really considering what are the things that could possibly be making it low. And by giving you this adaptogenic herb like licorice or ashwagandha, or we're looking at holy basil or rhodiola, all good stuff. The problem is that it's not the clinical picture of what's going on just based on a saliva test. The hair sample is underutilized. I will admit, I don't do a lot of hair samples. Hair samples can be really wonderful if you work with a practitioner who knows what they are doing, and there's a lot of them out there. They'll look at the different ratios. They'll see if you're a fast oxidizer, a slow oxidizer, a mixed oxidizer. They'll be able to know if you are displacing certain elements or minerals in favor of heavy metals, or if you're not clearing things out. I think it's a really important clinical tool if you find someone that knows how to do it. We still do some of them. We are integrating them more and more into our practice, but it's another piece of the puzzle, which I think you want as many pieces of the puzzle. And then the fourth one, which I would say is my all-time favorite, is a urine test. Now, it's not a LabCorp or Quest where you pee into the tub, or sort of the big thing, jug, if you will, for the entire day. That's called a total 24-hour urine, which is very, very helpful, but you're not looking at circadian rhythms. And a lot of doctors will say, well, urine is not for circadian rhythm. And I would disagree, because when we do the Dutch test for the urine, which is a dried urine sample that is taken throughout the day, we do see some correlations with a circadian rhythm, with an adrenal awakening response, where we see that doubling of that input of that cortisol from the first hour when someone wakes up. But suffice to say, the urine test, in my opinion, you're not only looking at the percentage, the small percentage of the free fraction of the hormone, you're looking at the total fraction of the hormone, the amount that's bound. You're also looking at other hormones and metabolites like DHEA. You're looking at your different estrogens, your different testosterones, and you're looking at how they are being cleared out from the body, and who's robbing Peter to pay Paul, or what the breakdown process is looking like, so you can actually go in there and make an optimal recommendation and say, hey, Mrs. Jones, your free fraction is very low, but your metabolized cortisol, the amount that you're producing for the day, is doing well. So some reason why your body is deactivating that free fraction, and it's making it less available, and it's putting it into reserves. There's a lot of reasons for that, and we'll go and investigate those reasons, but you're getting more qualitative information. So for those reasons, I like the urine test the best. It's called the Dutch test, and we do that every single day in our practice. However, what I would say when I'm saying all of this is the best test for the adrenals, I would say if you have the ability to look at 3 of them, if I could look at blood, if I could look at hair, and I can look at urine, now I'm getting a 3-dimensional picture. Like, that's why we take x-rays from different views. Like, I'll do an x-ray from head on, I'll do an x-ray from the side, I'll do an x-ray from the oblique. And I want to see, is there a fracture in that bone from a different angle? Same thing, is there information that we can glean from a different angle, and not just say, oh, blood's the best, saliva's the best, hair's the best, urine's the best. They're all good in terms of what they give you. They all have limitations in terms of what they don't give you. And they're all good working together. And for those reasons, I would say that I like the urine test, the Dutch test, but I like to use as many pieces of the puzzle that I can possibly help you with. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you give me a comment, or you give me a thumbs up or a like. And if you are struggling with an adrenal fatigue problem, then make sure that you continue to find out all the information that we put on our YouTube channel, so we can help you recover from your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Have an awesome day.